Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim, and it is time to talk about artificial intelligence. We are going to start out this evening by talking about ISTE. So, I always have to remind myself what ISTE stands for. It
I
is
think they
the
merged with somebody. It's like ASCD or something.
yes,
Because I noticed
yes.
that the conference, it's ISTE and ASCD or whatever that is. I don't really
I don't know
actually.
if they I don't know if they merged or if they just are putting on the conference together.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, ISTE is very large and they do this great conference once a year.
It's an ed tech.
Last year, it's an ed tech conference. Last year it was in Denver. This year it was in San Antonio. So we did go to ISTE. It was kind of a last minute decision. We were invited to be part of a panel discussion with Intel, and
We?
I was invited to be part of a panel discussion with Intel because I was in the classroom for a long time, and there were two high school students, one who just graduated from high school, one that was still in high school, that had actually won several innovative awards through Intel. One of them was for a program that she did for students that are visually impaired using artificial intelligence, and she's created a bunch of games for them to play, things like similar to Wordle and stuff like that, and it's for visually impaired students. And she did that because one of her good friends in high school was blind and couldn't play Wordle with the group of friends that were all addicted to Wordle. So it's amazing what she did.
Personal
And
motivation.
personal motivation.
It's
And
the best
then
kind.
the boy that was sitting there, I think he is still in high school.
In Mumbai, India.
Mumbai,
Yes.
India. He is doing graphic novels using artificial intelligence to generate images and do graphic
And
novels
the
for
text and
students.
everything. He's
Yes.
trying, and again, personal reasons. His brother
His,
was uninterested in reading. All he wanted to do was play video games. And I'm quoting him, not me. His
yeah.
brother just wanted to play video games and he wanted to try to help him get excited about reading. He knew his brother
Mm-hmm.
loved graphic novels. And so he created a very crude version, in his words, to start with, but now he's got it as a website that you
Right.
can go to, and it is free for anyone to use. His dad is paying the bill right now, but
He
basically
says
they've
it's not costing a lot of money, though.
no, it's not. They've got a bunch of schools in India. Apparently, the government schools over there have less resources than the other schools. I'm assuming that's private
Private.
versus not, which is where we're going in the United States, probably too.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was excited because I think there was like 20 of those schools and thousands of people that had to access it now. Anyway, he was excited about his. What I liked about both of them was the fact that they both did it for very personal reasons. They
Yes.
saw a problem, they had a skill set, they went to solve it. The other thing I thought was interesting is the young lady, Miss Yang, I think was her name.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was interesting was she doesn't. I don't think she wants to major in computer science, but I don't think she's done a lot of coding
Right.
yet.
She doesn't
She's
have a
done some in high
huge.
school,
Right.
but I think she used AI to do what she said. She used AI to do a lot of the coding,
Mm-hmm.
and they were both impressive because they were very articulate. They spoke clearly. They had very clear vision about what they were doing. Funny thing is, he's not even planning to go into computer science. He wants to do like economics and business or something,
Right.
and
Right.
no,
I
hey,
thought
no,
that
it's
was interesting.
economics and something else. And she is going to Penn State, and now she got into the Wharton School of Business because she decided she likes running a business. So
Yes, yes,
I
and she has a
told,
lot of volunteers that are helping.
mhm,
I think what I like the most, and it's something I actually told them, is that you and I talk a lot about the difference in efficiency AI versus opportunity AI. It's
yes,
when you're utilizing artificial intelligence to be more efficient is when you're like utilizing it to help you with your calendar, help you with emails, help you with drafting, help all the stuff to
hmm
just help make your job easier and more
hmm
efficient versus opportunity AI, as you describe it, is when you're using artificial intelligence to actually create something new, to
that you
generate
couldn't
a
have created
new
without it.
opportunity. Correct.
Yes.
And I was very impressed that they were both using artificial intelligence the way that I think that it should be used, which is to create new opportunities. So that's why we were
Yes.
at ISTE. I was very happy that Intel had invited me to be there. Of course, they wanted my view about, AI in classrooms and how we're teaching it and AI literacy and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. We also, went to like a Dell event. I went to one of a Women in Innovation event that was put on by Intel. Got to see a few people, got to meet some people that are like LinkedIn friends. So I had fun. We were only there for 2 days, so it was good. Now, let's talk about some of the things that are happening in the headlines. We're going to cover a few of those, and then I really want to talk a lot about something that I just posted on LinkedIn because you and I were discussing an article that came out about CrowdStrike. So let's start with the top things. Now, one of the things that we saw when we were at ISTE was the Google booth. It was very impressive, very large. A lot of people working the booth.
It was crowded too. There's a lot of people there, probably because of this announcement.
Right. So Google just made a really big announcement that they're going to be doing free Gemini AI suite for educators.
Overall,
are you surprised?
I'm not. Overall, this was in. I said we're going to start trying to tell where we're getting these headlines from. I want to make sure I give credit to credit's due. TechCrunch. I'd read this in TechCrunch, and the headline was Google announced a major AI push into the edtech space.
Yes, and we have always said that Google was the big gorilla,
sleeping giant,
and it was just sleeping giant, and we were kind of waiting for it to wake up in the educational space, and it looks like this is the first signal that they have woken up and they've got their act together, and now they're going to do what they always do, is they're going to offer a bunch of free stuff into the education space. Now, this is really smart to do. Because if you offer all of this stuff for free in the educational space, what happens when those students graduate from K-12 education and they're already so addicted to, not using that word really correctly, but they're so reliant on Google tools.
They're trained. I had Richard and I, this late friend of mine, had a conversation years ago where all these vendors have missed this huge opportunity to train the next generation by giving them tools for free. If you charge the schools, all of them do. Microsoft gives away some stuff for free too, but they charge a lot as well. Google gives away a lot of stuff for free. But Google's biggest Achilles heel, besides the fact that they move very slow, is they have the worst marketing people. I don't understand. It's like they hire great engineers, they hire great computer scientists, but their marketing people, when it comes to bundling what they have, maybe they're just too big. I don't have any idea. But
honestly, they have knowing some people who work for large corporations, a lot of times it's just one not talking to the other, and somebody thinks somebody else is doing something when they're really not. They're just so large. Such a large company.
So let's roll through a few of these. Free Gemini, you mentioned free Gemini AI suite for educators. The Gemini, we paid for a few versions of it because we needed some licensing, Atlanta ISD, and we've been experimenting with it to see if we were going to maybe offer it to more teachers. And they've also integrated it for quite some time. I've had access to it in my personal account. I'm not sure everyone has, because I had signed up early on, just like I did for everything else. I signed up early on to be in their test thing. So I don't know when everybody else got it because I've had it for so long. But it is useful because it's integrated into Workspace. I haven't tried these custom AI gems, as they call them. Be able to create custom versions of Gemini AI called gems that act as AI experts. It sounds to me like it's very much like what they've done in Notebook LM, which allows you to put in your source files. Right. And I got to say, the Notebook LM piece, ever since we did the presentation or the training or PD or whatever you want to call it at Hutto ISD, when Jenny, Miss Netherland, had asked us specifically to talk about that, so I've really been playing with it. I use that thing all the time now, Notebook LM.
Yes.
Because it allows you to easily just chunk sources in. And the key is it also does the best job I've seen of keeping the scope of what it answers the questions to your sources, to the point of almost being annoying sometimes because you're so used to being able to jump back and forth with the sources. Use this source, but grab stuff from the web. It's very specific. You can drop audio files straight into it, and it will transcribe the audio files in real time. And
That's
they're
cool.
adding some other, I think they're about to support doing the same thing with video, is what I've heard. They're about to release
Right.
that as well.
Right.
Anyway, these gyms are basically allow the teacher to create their own study guides and stuff, which you can do in Notebook LM. The classroom management stuff caught my attention, and I talked to them at the booth about that. It
Okay.
sounds like they're about to start, well, they're going to start offering what you and I had talked about a while ago when you had me do that simulator to simulate a day in the life of. One of the things that the teachers in that simulator did, which our teachers in our pilot program really wanted, was the ability to have the AI control or be able to control, not the AI, but to be able to control what the students did on the Chromebooks,
Right.
what they're doing.
One of the
Now,
problems that they have when they have Chromebooks in classrooms is you cannot keep your eyes on every single student the whole time. And students will open a tab, go somewhere else, try to get on a game or something like that, and then they hurry quick and close the tab whenever you walk over there.
and what is this been
So
this what's been the solution to that every principal hates?
that every principal hates, it's a software company to where you can monitor what
Yes,
everyone's doing on their devices, but it makes the teacher have to be at a screen so they can then
correct.
monitor the thumbnails of all of the Chromebooks that are in their class.
Or they have the ability to lock the students, but they have to go to their computer
Yes.
and they have to lock the students on it. And you're probably going to have to do that with this as well. The thing that ought to worry those companies, because like we use Guardian for GoGuardian for our content filtering, they
Right.
have a teacher edition, which we pay for. And we pay for it because they use it like in our alternative behavior center and ISS and stuff like that to keep the students on task. Google
Mm-hmm.
builds this stuff in. It's really not hard for them to just kill everybody in the market overnight. If I was the
Right.
companies doing that, I would worry about it. It doesn't have as many features as companies like GoGuardian offer, but it has enough. And
Right. And
that's
that's
what
another
kills you.
thing is when they start doing like the lesson planning templates and the exit ticket templates and
Yep.
the, email templates and all those different templates that a lot of these wrapper companies have
Hmm.
built huge companies on.
Yep.
As soon as it's being given away for free by Google for Education,
They kill it.
I don't know where those companies are going to go with that.
Well, and they're calling this, by the way, the new teaching mode that they're
Hmm.
offering. And that alone if I have to buy the extra license in order to get that, which is maybe it's in the paid tier,
Hmm.
which we're going to talk about in a second. If I have to buy it, that becomes worth it. Just
Right.
that becomes worth. And so I look at it and go, okay, normally I wouldn't have paid for the paid tier of Google. I'll just use the free. But when
But
you
if it's
offer a
only three
feature
dollars per person or something
per
like that,
year,
it's less.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. Then
it's
you're
probably
looking at your
cheaper than the ones that I could buy from these other companies,
right.
and it's integrated in with Classroom and Google tools.
Everything
Which,
else, all the things that my teacher's already using. If you're a Google district
yep, that is
specifically, and even
correct.
even I mean, I wouldn't recommend. We're like a hybrid district.
We
We
are a
have a lot of
hybrid.
Google, and then we have Microsoft also. But our teachers all know Google Classroom, and after COVID, they really got to know Google Classroom
Well, and
because that's how people were giving lessons.
that's a great example. What you just said is a great example of what we're talking about. We use Google Classroom, and they basically are using it as a learning management system. It is not a
Mm-hmm.
learning management system. It's
Mm-mm.
a subset of it, but it's good enough,
It's good enough,
and it's free. So
right?
I'm sure we're not the only school out there that goes, I'd love to buy one of these expensive learning management systems like the colleges use,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need that
Don't need
sophisticated
it.
one. I'm
Right.
going to use Google Classroom.
So
So
let's talk
that
about the paid tier real quick because we're already 13 minutes into our
okay, paid
podcast.
tier.
So, one of the things that we know is going to happen is they're going to give all these stuff, a bunch of stuff away for free. And we both think that they will keep the stuff free. They're not going to say all of a sudden, oh, you're hooked on it. Now we're going to put it up into a paid tier.
Right.
But they are going to have advanced features,
Like
don't know
classroom control.
exactly
Like
classroom
classroom.
control,
Yeah.
maybe some more sophisticated video generation or
Yep.
image generation or something like that that's going to end up being in a paid tier. All right, let's go to the next headline. And this has
Well,
to
we
do
can kind of blast through on this one a little bit. This is not AI per se, but it is a conversation that happened a lot, which you brought up and asked me about. So anyway, I'll let you hit it real quick.
well, I on LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday morning, maybe the morning before, I started seeing all this stuff about the Trump's federal funding freeze and how they were freezing all of these funds that were going to be sent out to education, specifically like Title I and Title II, and all
Hmm.
these different types of funding grants. all of this is going to get frozen, and what were schools
July
going to
1st, it was
do?
all going to be frozen.
All frozen July 1st.
Yep.
And I went to you and I was like, this is a big deal because,
We're
Texas,
Title I school. We're Title I school.
Yeah, we're Title I school. What is going to happen with this? And the first thing you said is, I think we need to find out if this is, vet the sources and let's dig into this a little bit more. So you went and you did some research.
I did
a
lot.
Used an AI.
I did a lot of research, but it was very fast because I used AI and I could question the sources. I think I didn't find this as part of my research, but I think that headline from Education Week kind of summarizes what happened.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Yeah. Trump's federal funding freeze was blocked, but confusion among schools is remaining. I actually sent a text message to our CFO for Llano ISD, and I was like, hey, I'm seeing this. And he texted me back, and he was like, as far as he knew, Title I was not going to be affected. And the reason is because the only thing that is being affected, as your research showed, was things that were not formula based.
Like Title I, Title IV, I think.
Right.
They mentioned IDEA, which is special education. These are formula grants.
Right.
That's what,
and the formula
that's what
grants
the AI
are
said.
not. The formula grants are not affected.
But before we move on, that's correct. But before we move on, I want to make one note of one important thing. I did the research. It was fast. I used ChatGPT. I told it to search. I didn't use the 03. I think I used the 4.0 model because it was faster. I pulled all this information. I said, give me sources. It did. But with the information I gave you, and it was pretty good, and we could check the sources, you still did the one thing at the end that we tell people you should always do.
I talked to someone who
Human in the loop.
Human in the loop. I texted the CFO.
Yep, that's exactly what you did. And because he keeps up in a different way than what we do.
He listens to legislative sessions all the time.
Oh my God, that's to me that would be torture, but he does it. They've even got it set up. They did not. The school didn't pay for any of it. They've got a little exercise area, a treadmill that they put in. They have to watch so much of this crap that they're sitting in a chair all day, and they're going to have a heart attack from sitting all day long. So they put a treadmill, which somebody donated. They didn't. The school didn't pay for it, and they sit there and watch this stuff while they walk on the treadmill because they're tired of sitting in their chair because they got to keep up. They got to keep up because
got to listen in.
Especially this time of year when they're doing all the planning for next year. I mean, we're not planning, but we're actually approving budgets, which we planned months ago. If something changes, we have to change our budget. Then we don't have much time. So anyway,
our daughter-in-law works for a large ed tech company.
Yep.
And she was telling me the other day that there are some schools out there that have yet to approve budgets because
they're afraid to.
They're waiting to see.
Because of this confusion. All right, I got to end this one. This one's mine. I got to end this one. Forever in Nerdville, there's been a joke. And the joke was, have you heard this? I'm going to ask, have you heard this joke? Because you probably haven't. How does Microsoft change a light bulb?
No idea.
They don't. They declare darkness as a standard. Now, that's a stupid joke. I get it. That's a dumb joke. I get it. But what's funny, that's so bad. What's funny, though, is if you've worked on PCs with Windows for years, you know what the blue screen of death is. It means the system crashed. You've seen it. You've seen it. Blue screen of death, it's crashed. Microsoft declares that they're ending the blue screen of death because they're changing it to black.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you have it. Solved. The blue screen of death is gone now because they changed it to black. So they declared, it's like declaring darkness as the standard. They basically said, we're fixing that whole blue screen thing. It's been there for 40 years because we're going to change it to black. I love that. That's from The Verge. That's from The Verge, by the way. I'm paraphrasing a little bit. Microsoft made it sound more like a feature than it actually is. But anyway, there's an article if you want to read it on The Verge about it. So our main discussion.
CloudStrike.
CloudStrike. Who is CloudStrike? Let's talk about why they matter. Who is CloudStrike?
Well, why they matter? They're huge.
They are, and if you're putting up a website right now, and you want to have some kind of security, like denial of service attack kind of stuff, you're probably going to use CloudStrike. If you want to remote access it, you're probably going to use CloudStrike because they offer a lot of this security. So they want you. One of the reasons I wasn't able to use them on one of my projects is you have to put your whole domain with them. And then they monitor your domain for weird traffic. I think the number you found was 20% of all of the websites on the planet go through them?
Well, actually, I will tell you really quick. I think it's more than that, actually, because, I did some research and basically it was that they're huge. It's
Well, I think it's
it's
I think it's
approximately 20%
yeah.
of the web handles, and it handles 45 million HTTP requests per second. Okay.
They are very large. Why does this matter? Well, this matters because of a pilot they're doing,
Yes.
which you put you did, I think you did an article on LinkedIn about it,
Yes,
but
I
that
did.
they're doing this pilot, and this pilot is
Well,
basically going to change, in our opinion, everything.
everything. So the first thing they've done is they've said, okay, AI crawlers are now blocked by default. Okay,
And they're not right now. There's
on all their
yes,
new domains, every new domain through CloudStrike, AI crawlers are blocked, and they're doing a pay per crawl
they're offering that
model.
as a
That is
service.
it's a private beta for
Hmm.
select publishers. So you're
For
talking
now.
these huge publishers are trying this out, this beta thing, things like the AP or the Atlantic, or I mean, these big, huge Condé Nast, I think is what another big one. And so it's going to change. It's going to be like a toll road or a toll booth.
Well,
You're
I
going to have
think
to pay to crawl the web.
I think you and I talked about this. The fundamental nature of the web is it's kind of a handshake agreement. Google took over. Google runs 90% of the web traffic, and Google took over the search traffic. And Google
Hmm.
said, "We're going to search. We're going to come up with answers, but when we come up with them, we're going to send them to your website. If they
Right.
come to your website and you're going to be able to, do search engine optimization, you and I've done all that stuff before, but the agreement was the web is open. We're going to show ads, and that's going to get push traffic to your site."
Right.
Well, AI comes along, generative AI comes along, and it disrupts all that. How does it disrupt it? Because, first of all, they're not obeying the rules, which is the robot.txt file that says if you've got a robot.txt file, again, it's a handshake agreement. If you see that when you go to crawl that site, you stop and you
Hmm.
don't do it. That's been around for a long time. They're not obeying that. I think Perplexity just got sued for not doing that.
Not
I
too
think
long ago.
not
Yeah.
too long ago. I think it was Perplexity. So this agreement was in place, and they're violating it. So
Hmm.
what are they going to do? Is they're going to go to the next step where CloudStrike is going to say, "I don't care what the robot.txt file says. We're going to put up a paywall that says if you want to crawl this site, now you can go to the site. You and I can put in the address and go to the site. You can go to the site, but if you've got an automated crawler, it's going to hit a paywall. They got
Right.
to pay for it. What does
Right.
that do? Well,
The
to
big
me, that breaks
companies that can
everything.
afford it, well, not just that, but again, it's one of those things. The little guys, the ones that you have, these big companies that are able to afford
Yes.
these tolls to go crawl the web and scrape all this information, and then you have the little guys who are really like the little startup companies and all these little AI
Yep.
companies that are trying to get information that they cannot maintain the funding and they cannot pay those big huge bills
Well, and
like the
it's
other ones can.
for what makes it. I understand where these content people are coming from,
Oh,
and what you and
absolutely.
I say all the time is welcome to the '80s.
Hmm.
But what's different in the '80s? If you wanted a piece of news of information, you paid for it. You wanted to read an article in a newspaper, you bought a newspaper. You wanted to read anything, a book, it didn't matter. You paid for it, unless you
You went
went
to a public library.
or you stood around at the bookstore. You stood around at the bookstore and you read stuff, which we all did, and then hopefully you bought a book, which is how they stayed in business. Or you went
Right.
to the library. Well, what's happening right now?
Defunding the
They're
libraries.
defunding local libraries. There goes the libraries. Bookstores are going under like crazy because of Amazon. I mean, they're having a hard time holding on. You and I try to buy books when we go out, but hell, I buy stuff for my Kindle all the time because it's very convenient. So if you
Mm-hmm.
kill those two free sources, it's even worse than the '80s now, because
Mm-hmm.
not only do you have to pay for everything, but you can't get a free version anywhere.
Right.
So, and I think that there's one other subtle thing which we kind of hit on there was it's not just about web crawling now. We Everybody's gotten quite attached, or at least most people have, to these large language models. Well, right now we talk about the big four, the big gorillas. We talk about OpenAI. We talk about Anthropic, which is Claude. We talk about Google, and we talk about Microsoft, or Perplexity is kind of an up and comer, but we talk about Microsoft, but they own 49% of OpenAI, so it's kind of the same thing. But they're the only ones with the massively deep pockets
Mm-hmm.
that can say, okay, I want my AI to get trained on your data, so I'm going to pay you to crawl that site. And guess what? The little guy, there's a company in France that's really been a scrappy up and comer called Mistral, or however they pronounce it in France. They've come out with some great stuff. There's some
Right.
great language models that are small models on Hugging Face that people have done for free. Do you think they can afford to pay a micro payment to get
Every
on
time they
to?
want to scrape a web.
I mean, think about it. We're not just talking about scraping the Atlantic here,
Right.
or Washington Post. We're talking about, or the New York Post, or we're talking about the little guys that can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the content creators they should have been asking this question a long time ago, because Google hasn't been paying them squat really compared to all the content they were providing, but they were still had the opportunity to get something. And so I get where they're coming from. We're creating the content that you're using to make money. And what was the comment you made? I love this comment. You should have taken the picture. You said, we're at the conference. You got all these people that are throwing all this.
Oh,
They're getting all these teachers to do training for their products for free.
for free.
And
For free.
what were
Drives
they?
me crazy.
What were the
Oh,
guys in charge driving?
they were like Lamborghinis or something like that. I mean, they
Yeah,
were like major. There was two sports cars that were not like,
they were
your
$500,000 sports
everyday.
cars. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they were like
parked in front of the
really
hotel,
parked
and
in
they
front of
were
the
at the
hotel,
conference.
had
Yep.
their logo on them, and not just that. I mean, I saw a bus with a logo on it, like a full size bus with another company's logo on it. I mean, the amount of money that these companies are getting, these startup companies that are AI
Millions
companies,
and
they're
millions and
getting millions and
millions
millions, and they're getting these free resources
from
from all of
teachers.
these teachers who are willing to do all this stuff for a plane ticket, a hotel room, and a
They don't
free
even give them that.
T-shirt.
Half the time, the teachers go there and they pay to get in, and they
Probably,
still do the free training. We've done it where
probably,
we went
yeah,
to these conferences and we did free training.
yeah.
Remember
And
the
and
first
the
time
and
we
the
did
tech
that?
the tech bros are driving the sports cars, and
Yeah,
it
and the
just it
teachers
really
are,
did just kind of chap my ass. And I
hey,
am sitting there.
now this is a
Hey,
family channel.
no, it is not a family channel. I made sure I didn't say it was for kids under 18, because it does. It upsets me when I see stuff like that. I went back to take the picture, and they had already
Yeah, they
pulled out
moved
to
it.
probably go to a bar or something with spend more
Well,
money or whatever.
somebody said once that these startups they have 10 times the number of people in marketing as they do in development, and I understand that, because even in the
They have to
educate
get all those teachers to
well, and in
sign on.
that's why they in the education space it's very fragmented, and there's no one way to get information out to all these people. So they
Right,
have a lot of, I get the marketing thing, but when you get millions of dollars, and it's the content provide, it's the people doing the work, which is the teachers, and you're not paying them anything. And
right.
you're driving a $500,000 sports car that you couldn't have afforded until you got that venture capital money, and you're buying everybody drinks at the bar, and you don't. And I understand why you're doing it, but at the same time, it just feels wrong. And
It feels
I
sleazy. It
but
feels sleazy.
so when you start talking about these content people making content, I get it. I get, you have a website, Simply Mari K.
Hmm.
You've had it for a long time, and you post recipes. And now, if I go to one of the AIs, it can reproduce any one of your recipes because it trained on your site,
Hmm.
and that's okay for you. You're not trying to make a living on it. But these people that are trying to make a living, the question is at what level do we are we literally, but biting on, what is it,
Yeah.
biting off your nose to spite your face kind of
Right.
thing? Because
Right.
at the end of the day, we all love the web. We all love the fact that we can search for things. We all love using language models to help us figure that out. And if all the content to train those models is behind a paywall that only a few big companies can afford, then you're back in the same. We remember AT&T when they owned everything. We remember what it
And
was
we
like.
remember going into the basement at Texas A&M University, and you had to have a very specific IP address,
Yep.
right? Basically, what they're doing is they're going back to the days of when it's the dark web. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what's
because you
going to end
can't
up
index it.
happening.
You can't index
Yeah,
it if it's behind a paywall. So
right.
if you can't index it, and you can't get the information on it. Then how do people find you? Well, as you
You have to
said,
know exactly where to
you have
go.
to go exactly where to go, which we used to do in order to. We went on the VAX cluster from A&M to, and we're
UT.
remote
Mm-hmm.
connected to UTs because we had a friend there at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
we used all these tools nobody's ever heard of. And anyway, it's
With a
an
floppy disk.
so the experiment has started. Cloudflare is probably going to roll this out, which means a lot of people are going to start putting more stuff behind paywalls.
Mm-hmm.
The question is what does the web look like when that open feel that it's supposed to still kind of sort of have completely goes away?
I don't know.
And it's going to be interesting because it's going to be one of those things where as
Mm-hmm.
the little guy, I hate to see the little guys. I mean, the best part of ISTE when we went there, you and I found out was there's one end where all the big guys were. They
It
had the
was
great,
huge.
beautiful booths, and then we went down to the other end, which was where the scrappy little guys were. They all had their little small booths. Half of them, were probably staying in the hotel rooms together, stacking like cordwood. You could tell
Right.
by looking at them they were just barely able to get there because they didn't have millions of VC money, but they had some of the coolest stuff.
Yeah, they did.
And I'm worried about
They
those
did.
guys never getting out of the
Okay, so
crib.
we're out of time.
We are.
Yeah, but what was one of the things that you heard at ISTE that you want to mention on this podcast? What did you hear from like people, general conversation, people walking out of the showroom? What's something that you might have heard?
Well, I heard you repeat one that lady we were talking to that said, all this AI, I'm sick of hearing about AI stuff in every single booth.
That was
Um,
one of them.
Everybody was talking about AI, and you and I've talked about this before, where everybody talks about AI even if they had nothing to do with generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
They had machine learning or whatever, had nothing to do with generative AI, but they all had it in their booths. Hey, I
Mm-hmm.
was excited about the fact that I found an interactive panel that's starting to approach the price of a TV set because we're
Yeah.
talking about putting big TVs in rooms so they're more mobile because we got this mobile initiative going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the little things that made me excited because I'm like, oh, got it. We did
Okay.
find a little bag, because they just passed a law in Texas banning all cell phones for all students
And smartwatches.
and
All
smartwatches. And
communication
we have
devices.
there's not a piece of technology that's going to make that anything less than a disaster.
Yeah, don't know
But
what that's going to look
I don't know
like.
what that's going to look like. But I enjoyed the conference because Lano ISD benefited because I met with people that I found things that I needed to find, and it's really hard to
Yes.
find those by searching the web. It's about to get even harder to find them by searching the web.
Llano ISD benefited, and they didn't even pay for us to go.
They didn't even pay for that. Well,
All right.
I hope hopefully that. Go ahead.
I'm
That came
excited.
out. You should be excited.
Okay, so this is the proof, right? Okay, for those of you who don't watch the video and you only listen in, I'm holding in my hands my book.
And you're holding it crooked
It's
as you
an
always do.
8.5 by 11 full size,
It's
300
thick.
and
It's a big
300. Oh, it's huge. 358 pages of teacher tales from actual teachers and things that have happened to them in their classrooms that they were like, really? That just happened? And so, I mean, I had a lady share a story with me that for me to put in this book about a kid who set off a stink bomb that ended up evacuating not only their school, but the hospital next door because of the smell. Everyone thought it was like a gas leak or something. So
it was a gas leak. It was a fart bomb.
But it was, yeah. So, and
hold
then
on. Where do I get this book? Because we're going to be out of time.
It's going to be on Amazon. I
Starting...
could not find, yeah. So I'm self-publishing on Amazon.
When?
On the 4th of July.
2 days from now, okay?
2 days from now is when it'll be live.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just really excited about it because what I did is I put stories in, and then after the story, I put in like a couple of reflection questions with like a page that has, a place for notes and just doodling or whatever you wanted to do.
What's the name of the book?
And then I put could AI have helped? And so like, if I thought that AI could help, I literally gave the prompt and then I gave exactly what the AI said, or I gave you a prompt to put in yourself. Or if AI could not have helped, I gave you like a recipe for a margarita because, some of these teachers deserve a margarita at the end of their day. It's called Teachers Have Bigger Fish to Fry. Tales
by Maurie Beasley.
Yes. Tales from K-12 education. How AI might help or maybe not.
And AI did
So,
not write that book. That was
well,
and I can testify to that because I didn't
took a
see you for a
long
very long
time.
period of time.
Took a
You had
really
AI
long time.
giving you helping you with editing and maybe some grammar, and
Well,
of course
AI
it
did the
generated the
images.
images.
The
It would have
images.
taken you years to generate. You're a good artist, but it would have taken you a long time to draw all those images.
Yeah, so it did all the color book pages for me.
Yes,
And of course, I did put prompts into the AI and then I literally copied and pasted what the AI
of course.
answered.
I mean, that was part of it. I
So,
mean, that was a page on
yeah.
that part the AI is supposed to do. I just wanted to.
Yeah.
These are real stories, and I'm getting more and more. The reason I mention that is because more and more stories, because I read Medium, or I used to, and
Hmm.
so much stuff on there now is obviously AI generated. I'm getting to the point where I don't want to read it anymore. I write
Yeah.
my own stuff when I put it on there. AI may give me some suggestions, but I write my own stuff, and it's starting to really bother me that people aren't putting any effort into it. So I am very proud of you for doing that and writing it yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And today, I mean, I was looking through the proof, even though I've already ordered and it's already going to be published, and I found like a couple of
I
typos.
know
I
it's good.
found
Well,
it just
AI
makes it
didn't.
more human.
That's right. That's right. It makes it more human because Mari put something and she put a nine next to something for
Oh
no particular reason.
no.
So
So,
if you find error, if you buy it and you find errors in it, be sure they send them to you because you're personally you don't have an editor, you don't have a publisher. It's self published. You
yeah.
need people to tell you if they
I need
find
feedback.
mistakes.
I need
You need
feedback.
feedback.
All right. So, my name is Bari, and I'm here with my husband, Jim, and we talk about artificial intelligence once a week. And we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.